Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler, episode number 226. Today's episode is preparing images for WordPress. Let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. Jason Cosper, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, I'm getting it started this time. Hey, I'm Jason Cosper. I teach WordPress, preach WordPress. No, I work at WP Engine as a developer advocate. How's it going?
Nice, good to have you on. How about you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Weefald. I'm the project manager at Zeek Interactive in Huntington Beach, California, and we do the design meetup the first Monday of the month here at the office.
Awesome, good to have you on. As always, what about you, William?
Hey, William Bay. I run Flaunt Your Site. I do custom theme development for photographers. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome, good to have you on.
Thanks.
What about you, Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Zingit. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter, and I blog over at jasontucker.blog. So today's topic is a little bit near and dear to my heart because every week I spend a couple hours preparing a bunch of images, putting them out on the internet, and trying to get people to watch the show. And I know a lot of you build websites that are things that allow people to put images on their website, put them into blog posts, put them as social media posts, and just try to promote their products and services as well as their blog posts out onto the internet. So I thought it was a great episode for us to be able to sit here and kind of talk about how people go about preparing their images, what things they can do to do image preparation, both on their mobile device as well as things that they could do just on their computers. So let's talk a little bit about images and how WordPress interacts with images, and then we can talk about preparations and all that sort of stuff. So for me personally, I'm thinking we can talk a little bit about images that are being used in blog posts as well as social media images, and then we can kind of expand from there. So what are you folks doing that allows your customers or people that use your websites to do better with their images?
Well,
nothing. You do nothing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You just make sure you pick a full image, and an image shows up on the site, and you're good to go, right?
Yeah, it's magic.
it's kind of a strange question in a way because the average client doesn't really have a Photoshop workflow, for instance. So,
right.
You can give them all the specs that you like of like, hey, you should shoot for images of like, 1280 by however many pixels, and, they should be 72 DPI because 300 DPI has no point on the internet. That's a print level resolution, which has no use on a screen. But when it comes to, your clients are busy people and they just want to update their content and be done with it, sometimes they'll just upload stuff straight out of their camera.
Yeah, so I've got some things to say about that. So
just a few, nothing very many.
Well, I mean, I was going to say that we use several plugins to, resize images when they get uploaded in that manner.
Yeah, so DPI doesn't actually have a place on the screen at all, right? So when you say 72 DPI versus 300 DPI, there is no DPI on a screen. There's the inherent, DPI, but if you're uploading images, it doesn't matter if they're 32 or 300 DPI. So when you say 1200, pixels wide, that doesn't really have an inherent DPI on a screen.
How do you explain that to the common folk that are using the site? Because they're just thinking of it either as resolution or they're thinking as megapixels that they have on their camera.
Right. Yeah. So typically, I give them a specific width to export to, and what I am telling my clients now, which are photographers, to go ahead and upload 3,000 or 4,000 wide pixel wide images into WordPress. The reason for that is, yeah, everyone's gonna like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, go on. I'm listening. I'm letting you finish. I'm not gonna go on.
Now, what's really interesting, this kind of threw me off. Matt Mullenweg's been uploading that size images for years, right? Like, You know, and at first, you know, he and I had a talk about this at, I think, the first San Diego WordCamp, so about 2011. So as far back as that, he's been, you know, uploading images that size. And so, but now we're at a point, because we have responsive image, right? The RICG that, you know, you guys didn't even talk about last week. You guys alluded to it. That actually scales, and the browser determines what image is going to be displayed. So you can have a full size, and this is something that that they're working on in Core right now, is creating a separate entity of the full size image as a compressed full size image. Because right now, when you upload the original image, it doesn't get any compression. Well, it gets, like, you know, some level of compression done to it by WordPress, right? I think it's like, it applies like a 90% JPEG compression. But they're going to create a new size, new thumbnail size called, I don't know what it is going to be yet, but it's going to be the original size, but with something like a JPEG mini type of compression applied to it. So you'll have the original size that you can stick in your blog posts, whatever, and then responsive images are going to determine what is actually delivered to the end user.
Steve, are you okay over there, my friend?
No, my I'm sorry. Look, I think that's all great, and I think it's all fine and dandy if you've got a theme that's going to accommodate that, right? But not all themes are created equally. So if you're recommending that somebody upload a full image, right?
Image source set is actually built into WordPress. So when you insert a picture, it's not an image source. You're not looking. If you look at any WordPress site that's done past 4.4. The image doesn't return as an image source. It returns with the image source set.
I get that.
Yep.
I understand. There are also a lot of instances where, you know, you're loading in a background image for a full width, you know, panel on a site, and you're pulling in the full res image.
Yeah,
Right.
but like, no, we're talking about in the content. Background images is a different thing.
Okay, and that's why maybe I punted the theme, but not all areas of the site are created equally, right? So not all parts of the site are created equally. And if you have full size images everywhere on your website, you're talking about a bandwidth killer, man.
Yeah, like uploading images to your content, yeah, that's going to get resized and that's going to get compressed. But if you're telling people to, you know, upload 4,000 pixel wide, 300 DPI images for their backgrounds, that's going to murder their site.
Please don't do that.
So to clarify on something William touched on earlier, the default compression for WordPress, JPEG compression, is the level out of 100 is 82.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Normally, I have a little functionality stub plugin that I created that pairs all of my images down to 70 because that's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I'm cool with. There are plugins out there that will allow you to kind of pare down or up the image size. If you just Google how did I find this? WordPress default image compression. There's a handful of plugins out there that'll help you kind of tweak your compression. When you do upload a large image, and I don't think necessarily that it's the best idea. I try to have a target, but of course I'm you know, I'm of a developer mindset. I'm of a, you know, a server admin mindset where you know, I'm trying to make sure that all that performance is eked out. You know, regular users, you know, and this is something you guys kind of covered last week on, you know, on compression and things like that. There are plugins and workflows out there. You know, Save for Web and Photoshop is great, but there's stuff like Imagify, you know, Smush, things like that you can do at the WordPress level that will kind of round off a little bit of how, you know, crappy a very large image can be for end users, for visitors. But I think kind of finding a happy medium.
Well, Casper, let's talk about this from your point of view. I've got WP Engine's pricing plans up on my page, right? A typical plan, $100 a month, excuse me, $99 a month, gives you 20 gigs of local storage, right? Mm-hmm. How many of William's images do you think you can store on that kind of a plan?
Well, okay. Say, right? Yeah, that all depends. I mean, I routinely will kind of the lazy man's thing of grab an image from Unsplash when I need a cheaper free stock image for a post or header or whatever. Those images uncompressed range anywhere from, like, I've seen a couple that are 2 megs. I've seen a few that are 14.
Okay. So not a lot, right? So and again,
well, hang on a second. So you're assuming that I'm like uploading uncompressed images, right?
Yeah.
You're assuming that, right? But now I didn't say
no, you're uploading 300 DPI, dude.
Yeah. What's that?
It's
you
what
just
you
said you're uploading 300 DPI.
What? Okay, we just went over DPI. There is no DPI. Right.
But when you display, there's no DPI because it all gets cut down to screen resolution. But when you're talking file size, there definitely is.
I'm talking about file size.
No, there is no inherent DPI in a file, right? So that's kind of like, you got to get away from this DPI thing. Think pixel size, right? All right, so here's my workflow, right? I'll just tell you my workflow so you can get kind of handle on it, right?
Please
so I will create a JPEG, right? Of say 4,000 wide pixel JPEG. I save that at 90 as a 90 JPEG compression, right? Because I want it to have some quality to it. And then I'll run that through JPEGmini. I end up with a file that's probably 500K.
Okay. Okay, and I'm glad you clarified, because what I'm doing is I'm clarifying this for our audience, right? We're all power users here on this podcast, okay? And we all know kind of what we're doing, but if what you're recommending is somebody takes the raw file out of their camera and starts uploading those to WordPress on a $99 a month plan, they're going to run out of space really fast.
And I will say that something that William mentioned that a lot of people don't do is he runs his images through an image optimizer before uploading it. I mean, you can do that after you post it on your host. You can do that before you post it. I like to use ImageOptim for that on Mac. Works great. And the lossy compression, I can manage to get something down to where it actually looks as good as the image that I've saved. And less than a meg, 500K, things like that.
It's lossless compression.
I prefer lossy. I have some tweaks that have gotten it to where I'm like happy with just the minor amount of pixelization. But I know that some people aren't, and that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about tools, and I'm not talking about the 5 of us, right? So
I was just going to say
that. Let's talk about some of the tools that can be used for prepping images. Casper just mentioned ImageOptim, right? I still use Photoshop. I'm an old school guy. I go in and I tweak my settings, right? And I use Save for Web, and that's that. But I don't do a lot of what you guys do on a day-to-day basis.
What are you paying for Photoshop now? What's the going rate on that?
I've got the cloud license, so all of my employees have all of the Adobe tools. We just pay them per month.
Yeah.
I think it's $50. I think it's $50 per user per month.
That's for the whole suite. When I was a hobbyist photographer and developer myself, I think it was like $10 a month, and I got Photoshop and Lightroom.
Yep. A really good deal.
Yep. I am a little cheaper than that, and I don't necessarily enjoy Adobe products. I personally prefer Pixelmator, which is a fine tool if you're on a Mac. I am not sure what the going rate on it is anymore. I think I got in when it was $50 or $60. But it does a lot of what Photoshop will do. If you just kind of need to make some minor image tweaks, it really gets the job done. And really, that's all I need it for.
And let's be clear, Photoshop is way overkill for what I'm doing these days with photos, right? I only use it because I receive Photoshop files from our designers, and that's the source. So that's why I have Photoshop on my desktop.
You probably could get away with just using Preview on the Mac and just using that to resize your images and stuff like that.
Probably, yeah.
Or if you really want to go old school freebie, there's always GIMP, which is poorly named but freely available for any platform that you have. If you have a computer that's like an old Dreamcast running NetBSD, there is a version of GIMP for it. It is totally cool.
Most of the technologies on a community are poorly named, by the way.
Definitely.
They are.
Yeah.
You had to bring out the GIMP, didn't you?
GIMP sleeping.
Yeah, Sketch is also one that our developer team has liked a lot.
Sketch?
Yeah, Sketch.
Is it Sketch or Sketch? Sketch?
There's both.
Sketch.
There is Sketch and there is Sketch. So
One's a screenshot tool made by Evernote, and the other one is the one for doing images for the web.
Right, Sketch is the one for the web images, right? That the vector images. Yeah, so that one helps you make vector images that appear real nice and crisp at any screen resolution. So whether you have a Retina device or not, it looks nice.
It is interesting, and it is good that you brought up Sketch. I use Sketch as part of my workflow every day. I do a lot of screenshots for, this should look a little different, or here's what I'm seeing when I view a page in my browser, something like that. And sometimes I do blog posts around that sort of thing. So that's good for a quick markup tool that, of course, you have the screenshotting tool built into Mac OS. Not sure what Windows has done because I've been a Mac user for like 15 years now. So
yeah, but Sketch is rad because yes, you've got the screenshot. You can take a screenshot, but once you bring in the Sketch, you can do those fun little markup things.
Exactly.
And if you're scared or afraid of Evernote, you can also use something called Droplr.
Yeah, Droplr's great.
That one's a good one too.
Yep.
I use a super old version of Sketch that I can actually SFTP images up to my own image host, so I never have to worry about Evernote going away.
Nice.
But that's just some nerd crap that I do. So.
So what about people on the go?
Are we worried about Evernote going away?
You should always be worried about a third-party service going on.
Yes.
No, you should expect it.
Okay.
I do a lot of my image manipulation and things on the go, mainly on my iPhone. I don't do blogging on my iPhone or anything like that. It'd be whatever Siri thinks that I'm saying in English would be written. But I do a lot of image manipulation and text stuff on my iPhone, and there's a bunch of tools that I use for that.
What was the rad one you showed me the other day that does the text stuff?
Yeah, so the one I use for like all of our featured images and everything on the show here is called WordSwag.
That one's awesome.
And then the other one that I use is called Canva, and these are on iOS as well as Android. And then a third one, if you want to do very specific images that have text and stuff overlaid onto it, is one by Adobe called Spark Post.
Spark Post?
Uh-huh. So those are the three like big ones that I use for doing images for, especially for like social media type images.
There is a nice addition to, there's a version of Pixelmator if you have it on the Mac. There's also a version of Pixelmator for iOS, for iPad, iPhone, etc. devices. I have that, and it's nice because it has iCloud syncing. So if you are doing work on Pixelmator on your desktop and want to throw it over to the iPad or vice versa, you take a photo on your phone, do some editing, and want to throw it over to your desktop. It's a nice way to kind of to work with that. Also, if you're kind of doing a little bit of photo manipulation, not necessarily text, but just kind of bring some colors out, some filters. There is a camera app called VSCO, Visual Supply Company, makes it. They do a lot of good filters. They have a whole plethora of pinatas. I mean, of filters that you can
Would you
use.
have a plethora?
See guapo.
Yes, you'd have a plethora.
All right, go on. I derailed. Go on.
No problem. But they have a lot of filters that kind of can pull some shadows out, some things like that. So if you need to make some of those tweaks, sometimes it's a lot easier to do with touch controls than it is with a mouse. I know that's weird, but sometimes you just have to go for the platform that kind of works best for you.
Speaking of that, actually, what you should get is a touchpad if you're on a Mac. If you don't have one on your Mac already, you should get either an external touchpad or some kind of device like this. You should not be using a mouse.
So Steve, wow, Steve, check you out.
I know.
No, it's all about the Wacom.
I've always said that Wacom.
Some people
I
say
think
Wacom.
Wacom.
Yeah.
You whack
Some
'em.
people say Wacom. Wacom.
I don't know. I had one of those in school, and I hated the heck out of it. So now that I've got like an iPad Pro with a little pencil finger, I love that.
Those are nice. There's definitely the Wacoms have definitely improved since you were in school. So they've even got the Cintiq where you could actually draw on top. The thing that's nice is the pressure sensitivity. But I've heard really great things about the iPad Pro and the pen.
So for those people that are iOS only, but they're trying to do image resizing on iOS is like near impossible. One of the tools that I use is the software called Photo Extension Resize, and it's actually an extension built into iOS that you open up an image, you click on the little share sheet, and then you can select resize, and you can actually resize it based on the dimensions and everything. Then upload those to your website. So if you want to do that and not upload like 25 megapixel ridiculousness, you can shrink them down before uploading.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, it's pronounced Wacom. That's what
here we go. The
You're
episode.
all wrong.
there actually is a Wikipedia page.
Four ways to pronounce it.
I was waiting for the Wikipedia citation this episode.
There you go.
If you're playing the drinking game at home.
But according to Steve, it's pronounced GIF.
Yeah.
Yes.
GIF or GIF, depending on if you're wrong or not.
So let's spend the last 8 minutes of this podcast just arguing whether it's GIF or GIF.
I love it. Good job, Steve.
No one would take your freedom to be wrong away from you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Speaking of GIF, William, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, once you got your photos up there, one thing that I don't see enough of is people actually using the multiple sizes that are available, right? So doing a post, and inserting your images at medium and aligning left or right, I don't see that enough. I don't see people actually doing that. And creating unique flows throughout their content. I think that's kind of important to do. And then one thing that came out in 3.9 was the HTML5 support for figure and figure caption. And those, if you're a theme designer, you should be incorporating those. They're not part of the original HTML5 support. You actually have to add those to the figure and the figure caption. But once you got that, now you have captions, and you don't actually necessarily need to focus on alt tags anymore. You can add a caption, which is a little bit superior to alt tags when it comes to SEO. And screen readers will read the captions if the alt tag is missing as well. So just a couple little things to be thinking of when you're actually writing content and adding your images into the content.
What if you hate the image sizes that are built into WordPress or built into the theme? I mean, I know there's plugins that are out there that are great for this. The one I've looked at is called Simple Image Sizes.
Yeah,
I know there's plenty of other ones that are out there.
Simple Image Sizes is great.
That's a really easy one for the end user to recreate or create new theme sizes. You can, obviously, if you're a theme developer, you want to be creating different size thumbnails as well for, not just the content, but for any area where you're incorporating images and they need to be sized a little bit differently.
If you're watching, if you have no idea what we're talking about, right, you might want to just take your page or your post and run it through Pingdom Tools, because it'll break down the assets for you that are on the page, and tell you if you've got an extra, a long load time on a particular asset, right? So let's say to William's point, let's say you have somebody that's loaded in an image, right? And they put the full-size images in the post, but they've resized it down, right? They've used that little resizing tool and resized it down to really small, right? That's a bad idea. But just looking at the post, you might, if you're not technical, you might not be able to tell what's going on. Something like Pingdom Tools or even YSlow will tell you, if you've got an asset that's taking a long time to load.
I guess the thing is for like the people that have never used something like Pingdom Tools is that they don't even really understand, like, is 2 megs too much? Is 5 megs too much? Is 30 megs too much? And
what's great about Pingdom Tools is at the top of it, I just ran it on our site. It gives you a grade, right? I'm not going to tell you what our grade is. It gives you a performance grade. So it kind of puts it in plain English as to if your page is taking a long time to load. Forgetting our performance grade for a second, because we're getting dinged on some other things. Our load time is 1.15 seconds. I just ran it on the homepage of Zeek, and it says it's faster than 87% of the sites that are tested. So I think we're doing pretty well there as far as load time goes.
Nice. And what William was saying earlier about having those images optimized for mobile and also being able to use the various tools that are built into WordPress to select the right image based on that viewport size and stuff. Does Pingdom Tools or any of those other tools kind of take that into account? Like, how is this going to load on the mobile side?
I don't believe Pingdom Tools does that. The closest thing I can think of that off the top of my head does that is that Google mobile responsive checker tool. I don't even know that that's still relevant anymore.
There's also
after mobile getting it was a big deal. Sorry, William.
Yeah. Google Chrome developer tools. You can do was it like the emulation of different devices?
Yeah.
And you can do you can use your timeline to see what that displays as.
Sarah, what's the tool that we use to simulate other browsers? Is it Browser Stack? Sorry?
Browser Stack.
So does Browser Stack also emulate a device, like what William's saying? Okay, so
as well.
Browser Stack's an option for you there too.
Yeah, Browser Stack's awesome.
So I know we only have a couple minutes left. I did want to mention we kind of touched on GIF just slightly, just a little bit. But a GIF is an image, turns out, including GIFs on your page can manage to really drive up the bloat, the size of your page, things like that. I personally use a tool called it's a plugin called Son of GIFV. It uses the Image-Your API and effectively converts the GIF back to like an MPEG-4 movie. And you can serve up that compressed image. It's what Twitter does already. That's what Image-Your does to send that image across in image. At this point, it's a video across in a few hundred K rather than like 6 megs, 8 megs, 12 megs.
So
is that how big animated GIFs are? I had no idea.
They can be.
Yeah. So about those. Especially when you're using a lot of them on your site, because they're in a very effective way to communicate. I mean, I find myself using the one of Nathan Fillion on Castle doing the thing a lot.
Yep.
That it speaks to me. It expresses my feelings. But if you're uploading any funny GIFs like that to your site,
GIF.
Steve, don't interrupt me to be wrong. You're going to interrupt me, be right. Anyway. So where was I even going with this?
I broke Sarah.
Thank you so much. You're great.
If you're uploading those to your site,
people are going to find them in Google Image Search and link directly off of or people like me are going to find it on Google Image Search and use all your bandwidth posting your funny GIFs all over the internet. So use a service like GIFV.
Definitely.
To host all of your funny
Let them be your CDN, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep, that's about it. It's 11:30. Thank you very much for all of you for being on the show, hanging out with us. learning how to pronounce GIF or GIF incorrectly or correctly, depending on if you're right or wrong.
It's GIF.
And it's actually GIF, you know.
Yeah, it's
Right,
GIF.
but it's GIF. It's
So,
it's 3-2 on this podcast, so that's we just decided.
but Jason was
It
12
just
years old
decided.
when he heard about it, and he didn't have any audio of anybody else saying it. So in my head, that's the way I say it. So sorry, I'm right.
Okay,
That's about it, folks. Thank you for hanging out and being on the show. We really appreciate it. If you like this show, you like all the stuff that we're doing, make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there to subscribe. If you like this particular video and you're watching on YouTube, which it looks like a lot of you folks are, click on the little thumbs up button and hit subscribe. Lastly, we're asking for your opinions. Make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com/opinion and leave your opinion over there. We would really appreciate it.
click on the GIF while you're over there.
Definitely. Definitely click on those GIFs. All right, guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.